the value of time.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
One of the most important concepts in human life is the concept of time. How do we treat time? How do we benefit from it? What is our general attitude toward time? Are we deceived by it or not? All of these are our main tests. Time is one of the most fundamental testing tools for you. Its importance surpasses that of many other things. Each of us has been allotted a specific amount of time. One of the most precious blessings that Allah grants a person is the time assigned to them. And we will be seriously questioned about this blessing. How did you spend your time? We will be asked. Hadith state that people worry about their sustenance. However, sustenance may be lost and regained again. But people do not worry about lost time. Time passes and never comes back. It is a blessing that cannot be returned once it is gone. No power in existence is capable of bringing back even a single moment from the past. Time is not a blessing that can be acquired through any means. This time is constantly decreasing. As it fades away, we live by losing it moment by moment. As seconds and minutes pass, time decreases, and death approaches. This is the nature of time. We spoke about the characteristics of time. We said that time is short, and that is one of its attributes. Time is cruel and merciless. It shows no mercy to anyone. Time takes away opportunities from our hands. Today, inshallah, we will speak about time management and its proper organization. As an introduction, I will mention a hadith from Imam Ali, peace be upon him. This hadith is about the speed of time. This hadith teaches us how to comprehend the fast passage of time. One must acknowledge that time moves quickly in order to value it. If a person feels too relaxed, thinking, I still have plenty of time, then they cannot truly appreciate it. In one of his sayings, Imam Ali, peace be upon him, reminds us once again of the brevity of time. He says, how quickly the hours of the day pass. Then he says, how swiftly the days of the month go by. He continues, how fast the months of the year pass. And finally he says, how quickly the years pass within a lifetime. Imam Ali, peace be upon him, appears to interpret the truths we already know. He says, don't compare an hour with a lifetime because it will seem long. Compare an hour with a day and you will see how fast it passes. He breaks the concept down. Compare months with years and years with a lifetime. Analyze this idea for yourself and observe how quickly hours pass in a day, just as months in a year and years in a lifetime. If this truth can be explained to a child from an early age, that life passes quickly, it will shape their worldview. If you don't explain it in a way they understand, life itself will teach them. Elderly people understand this well. Unfortunately, young people usually grasp it only through experience. A wise person is one who can reflect and draw conclusions before something happens. But this is rare. No matter how much you explain to them when they're young, they often don't grasp it. However, after life has passed, they confess, he was right. The Quran was right. The sayings of the Al-Bayt were right. A person must use their time properly. To do so, they must first realize that time is short. If someone understands how fast time passes, they will try not to waste it. Those who can manage their time well make better use of it and derive more joy from life. People who live according to a schedule enjoy life more than those who live without structure. If someone allocates specific times for sleep and meals, they use their time efficiently and gain greater satisfaction from both rest and nourishment. In contrast, someone who says, I'll sleep now and see when I wake up, will not enjoy sleep or rest. For such people, neither sleeping nor sitting brings joy. Everything feels exhausting. But when specific times are set for sleeping, eating, walking, or resting, one experiences greater pleasure from all these blessings. This can be proven through experience. One person lies down and says, hopefully I'll get up whenever I feel like it. Look at the quality of their sleep. Another person wakes up at a set hour. Observe the difference in the enjoyment they derive from both sleep and life itself. If someone sets aside time to be with friends, the enjoyment of that interaction increases. But someone who sits wondering, when will this be over, gains no pleasure from the conversation. However, when such gatherings are time-bound, the pleasure derived from them is much greater. When a person divides their time properly, their soul and spirit find peace. This is a truth proven by experience. Discipline and structure provide immense benefits to both the body and soul. One of the main causes of illness is irregular eating, sleeping, and living habits. Doctors confirm that many illnesses stem from such disorder, affecting both spiritual and physical well-being. This is an extremely important matter. Using time properly is one of the fundamental conditions for our spiritual growth. Reaching perfection is not only about avoiding sin. It's not enough to say, I haven't sinned. There are many conditions for spiritual development, and one of them is the proper use of time. Efficient use of time is a form of piety. It can be considered a component of taqwa. How we handle time is something that purifies the soul. Imam Ali, peace be upon him, says, I advise you to practice piety, and I also recommend being disciplined in your affairs. What is taqwa? Taqwa means to live with caution and awareness. In Arabic, this is referred to as muraqiba, a state where one lives consciously and mindfully. People are cautious about certain things in life. For example, someone might say, I avoid unnecessary arguments with others, or I try not to upset my parents. The more such principles a person applies in life, the closer they are to taqwa. Taqwa is like walking through a thorny path on a dark night. You tread carefully. In the same way, a pious person moves through life with care. So, what is discipline? It also means living attentively. Being careful with time and scheduling is part of being disciplined. That's why Imam Ali recommends orderliness or discipline right after taqwa. Discipline is a kind of taqwa. What does that mean? For example, you decide to manage your time properly starting today and to struggle against your inner desires. That itself is taqwa. If a person says, from this hour to that hour I will do this task, then they must struggle with themselves to follow through. That internal struggle is taqwa. Proper use of time and time management are characteristics of taqwa. In fact, one might say they are taqwa itself. For example, if I say I will leave for work at a certain time, it requires discipline. I must fight sleep and laziness. Saying I'll sit at this time and get up at that time, all these rules require self-discipline. Why can't we avoid sin sometimes? Because we haven't disciplined ourselves in other areas. In order to refrain from sin, we must first train ourselves in other areas of life. Sin is not an isolated issue. It is necessary to evaluate human evolution in a comprehensive manner. You must train yourself in other areas to strengthen your willpower. Only then will you be able to resist sin when the time comes. It's like a goalkeeper who has never trained and then wonders why he misses the ball during the game. To be able to catch it, he must have trained beforehand. Likewise, a person must train themselves in different aspects of daily life to guard against sin in critical moments. Expecting resistance to sin without making any prior effort is unrealistic. Taqwa is a comprehensive concept and must encompass all areas of life, and it begins with discipline. Time management brings order to a person's life, strengthens them, and increases their willpower. That's why the Imams would first call for taqwa and then for orderliness. A person should generally live with a sense of calculation. They must determine the course of their own life, living with the mindset of wherever I end up, that is my fate, is not suitable for human life. If a person follows every whim, going wherever they please and acting according to their desires, there will be no order in their life, and such a person will not achieve any serious results. Human virtue is not limited to prayer and fasting. It also depends on several other factors. A person who does not follow some level of order and discipline cannot fully adhere to taqwa either. If only we could truly recognize time, understand how fast it passes, and as a result, make proper use of it. To achieve this, we must live according to a structured program. So how should we divide our time? What should we allocate time for, and how much? The hadiths guide us in this matter, and it is extremely important. The hadiths state that time should be divided into 3 or 4 parts. This provides a structure for daily life. Now let me share a hadith narrated from the Prophet, peace be upon him. He says, "It befits a wise person to divide their day into 4 parts." Allah could have made all 17 units of prayer obligatory at once, but instead, He distributed them throughout the day, creating a rhythm and structure in our lives. Why is it said that the morning prayer must be performed by a specific time? Because it creates order at the beginning of the day. The other prayer times, noon, evening, and so on, all serve this same structure. It's not about doing things whenever we feel like it, but adhering to specific times. That is what discipline means. If Allah had willed, He could have said, pray 5 times a day, whenever you wish. But He didn't. He set specific times for each prayer. The Prophet, peace be upon him, also said that a wise person should divide their day into 4 parts. A time in which he privately communes with his Lord. 1 part of the day should be devoted to prayer and worship. This includes both obligatory and recommended acts. Prayer, reading the Quran, du'as or ziyarat. Everyone should dedicate this time according to their capacity. 1 part of the day should also be devoted to self-reflection. At the end of the day, before sleep, a person should sit and ask, what did I do today? What did I fail to do? A person must interrogate their soul. Why did I do this? Why did I hurt someone's feelings? Why did I say those words? If I committed a sin, what was the reason? These are the questions one must ask oneself. It is stated in the hadiths, whoever does not hold themselves accountable every day is not one of us. It is even mentioned that those who conduct self-accountability daily will have an easier questioning on the day of judgment. If a person doesn't pay attention, life simply passes by. But when one pauses and reflects, they realize they must ask themselves many questions. Why did I do this? Why did I act that way? A person should hold themselves accountable for both their good and bad actions. This topic is broad, so I won't dwell on it too much here. We've discussed it previously. Now let's move on to the 3rd part. During part of the day, a person should visit scholars, meaning those who educate and advise them on religious matters. One should go to those who will encourage righteousness, offer advice, and remind you of your duties and life's purpose. The effect of moral advice, mawiza, is profound. Even if a person cannot act on it immediately, simply sitting in such a setting and thinking, I wish I could be like that, has a positive impact on the soul. Such a wish can influence one's destiny. Even if the person doesn't reach the goal themselves, the intention may affect their children or future generations. Hadiths say that even if a person cannot accomplish something, saying, I wish I could have done it, is still meaningful and accepted. Sometimes we don't even take the simplest first step. We don't even wish to become better. This lack of desire will be held against us. We say, what's wrong with me? I pray, I fast. But a person must ask, why did Allah create me? What goals was I meant to reach? These questions awaken the soul, this desire. If only I could reach the goal, can one day lead a person to that goal. Words have power. Kind and meaningful words affect not only the soul, but even the body. Modern science has shown that prayers and positive words can alter the molecular structure of water, and negative words also have their effects. Seek out people and environments that influence you positively, calm your spirit, offer sincere counsel, and guide you toward your goals. And now the 4th part. 1 portion of the day should be dedicated to permissible worldly enjoyment, rest, recreation, walking, sitting, and so on. A person should allocate time for everything: worship, advice, self-reflection or accountability, and rest. Life requires balance. A person must determine for themselves what constitutes halal, permissible entertainment. Among the lawful pleasures of this world, they should recognize what brings them joy and make use of it without turning it into something forbidden. This is part of time management, the division of one's day. There are lawful pleasures that Allah has permitted, and one should experience them as well. Whether it's walking, relaxing, or simply enjoying quiet moments, everyone should allocate time for what brings them peace. For instance, this time is for the mosque, this is for worship, and this is for rest and leisure. A person should act based on this division of time. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "A wise person divides their day into 4 parts." This division is similar to the earlier one, but with slight differences. It consists of 4 parts. First, communion with Allah. Second, self-accountability. Third, reflection, pondering over Allah's blessings and creation. In the earlier narration, the third part involved visiting scholars. Here it's replaced with contemplation, because a scholar's duty is to make people reflect, to guide them toward independent thought. A scholar should speak in a way that sparks thought. Their aim shouldn't be for listeners to merely repeat or memorize, but to ignite their light of understanding. Those who preach from the pulpit carry a great responsibility. Their duty is to make people think. If they fail to do so, their accountability will be heavy. Abu Dar, may Allah have mercy on him, said, "Most of my worship was through contemplation." He reached high spiritual ranks through thought. The 4th part of the day should be for enjoying lawful pleasures. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that this part supports the other 3: worship, accountability, and reflection. Rest and enjoyment replenish the energy needed for those spiritual duties. This shows that even rest should not be aimless. It should ultimately serve the goal of personal and spiritual development. Indeed, you are laboring toward your Lord with great effort. Quran 84:6. There are certain desires of the self which, if not fulfilled in due time, will continue to disturb you. That's why the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that the 4th part of the day, dedicated to rest and lawful enjoyment, is meant to support the other 3. Even rest should serve a higher spiritual purpose. Rest in and of itself is not a goal. There must be a spiritual aim behind it. Notice that this hadith doesn't mention sustenance or income, perhaps because earning lawful livelihood is naturally a built-in part of life. That might be why it is not emphasized here. However, in some other hadiths, this is stated clearly. Imam Riza, peace be upon him, said, "Divide your time into 4 parts, one for communion with Allah, another for earning lawful sustenance." Earning a lawful livelihood is one of the greatest acts of worship. The worship of a lazy and idle person is not accepted by Allah. Some people claim, "I'm an ascetic, detached from the world," yet they spend the whole day idly and present it as worship. This is incorrect. Such behavior is harshly criticized in hadiths. For example, when people go on pilgrimage, hadiths say that those who serve others during Hajj or ziyarat earn the most reward. Once, someone was praised for praying all day and reading the Quran. Imam Sadiq, peace be upon him, asked, "Who provides his daily sustenance?" They replied, "His brother works and supports him." The Imam said, "In the sight of Allah, his working brother is more valuable, because the working person strives in Allah's path to earn a living, while the other sits idle and claims to worship. But Allah does not accept such worship. The true ascetic is the one who works hard to earn lawful sustenance and does so in the spirit of worship. You must go to work with enthusiasm and dedication, knowing that this too is a form of worship. If you're at work wasting time, solving crossword puzzles or engaging in meaningless activities, that's neither worship nor a useful deed. Crossword puzzles may still have had some benefits, but today, so many meaningless games are installed on phones that they dull the mind. People deceive themselves, thinking they're gaining skills, but in reality they gain nothing. They only make themselves more miserable. With these distractions, people lose not only their time but also their mental focus. Day by day, their intellect weakens. In contrast, purposeful and beneficial work brings a person closer to Allah and can even be considered a form of worship. The third recommendation is this: dedicate part of your day to meeting with righteous brothers every single day. But which kind of believers? Those who gently and lovingly point out your faults, not to shame you, but with care and sincerity in a way that awakens you. The same advice can be said in two ways. One that repels, even if it's right, and another that invites acceptance. So spend time with those whose words, looks, and conduct inspire you to think and improve. Believers support one another and help guide each other toward righteousness. And the fourth part, time allocated for lawful pleasures. Allocate time for everything. Worship, reflection, contemplation, and rest. Try to start implementing this from tomorrow. Start dividing your time the way the Prophet instructed. There's a story about Bahlul. One day he stood at the door of the mosque holding a sack. As people exited after a sermon, he bent down as if collecting something. When asked, "What are you gathering?" he said, "Nothing. People are leaving behind everything they just heard, so I'm collecting it." Most people hear and feel these messages but don't act upon them. They come, they listen, and they leave. But if someone truly wants to implement these teachings, they will immediately be tested. These tests will arise to disrupt that order, to distract and discourage you from staying committed. Two types of trials will appear, some from the outside and some from within. Sometimes Allah presents a person with an important task that becomes a test for their routine, to see whether they are willing to abandon it when necessary. In such moments, one must be ready to sacrifice that routine. For example, I may have dedicated a specific time to prayer and supplication. At that very moment, someone comes and says, "I have a need. I need help." At that moment, I must immediately change my plan and say, I had dedicated this time to worship, but now helping Allah's servant is a greater act of worship. Because Allah Himself has said that fulfilling a person's need is one of the greatest forms of worship. Another type of test is from the nafs, the self. You may have set aside 2 hours to spend with friends, but the conversation becomes so sweet and enjoyable that it's hard to get up and leave. There may be someone whose charm makes it even harder to part ways. That too is a kind of test. If a person adheres to a certain level of discipline, it greatly contributes to their personal development. Spiritual progression toward Allah is achieved through proper use of time. Go and study the lives of great people, not only religious scholars, but also those who have achieved worldly and spiritual success. One of their key traits has been discipline and effective use of time. Whoever has achieved something meaningful in life, be it worldly or spiritual, has done so through the proper management and use of their time. May Allah grant us success on this path as well.